Welcome to the Human Conversation Podcast with Jules White, the real dragon slayer, author and entrepreneur sales coach. Tune in weekly for human conversation about business and sales. Enjoy business expert interviews, educational episodes, and virtual cuppas with entrepreneur business owners. So grab yourself a cuppa and enjoy. Here is your host, Jules White.
So welcome everybody to the Human Conversation, and I have a guest who I know very well. I know this lady so well. She's a beautiful lady and she lives in the fabulous island of Jersey. Now I have to tell you all, I have visited her on this beautiful island and I had the most wonderful time. It really is somewhere everybody should visit. That's what I think. So I would like to welcome to my show the beautiful Lorraine Pannetier. Now, I've got to check, did I say that right, Lorraine?
Pannetier, yeah, that's absolutely fine.
I'm very pleased
Hello,
with myself. It's lovely to have you on the show. This is the second time you've been on the show, but it's been quite a while. And obviously today I want to just catch up with you and find out exactly what you're up to. I know you're doing some exciting things. So tell the people listening a little bit about Lorraine, just to start us off.
Okay, so a very brief overview. I'm an intuitive copywriter, which basically means I'm a copywriter, but I use my natural gift of intuition to dig that little bit deeper and go beyond the layers and pull out people's kind of true essence and magic within them, and then weave that into words.
Fantastic. And have you always done this?
No. I've always loved writing. I loved reading as a child as well. But for 20 odd years, I ran a nutrition and fitness business. So I've always been passionate about food, certainly since my teenage years. And I was always doing lots of writing for clients, for sort of my one-to-one clients. I was on social media when that all started. I've written for magazines and things. I was always writing. And then at some point, something kind of switched and I thought, you know what, I really want to follow my passion for writing and do that more than the sort of food coaching and things really. So I switched almost overnight really and went into copywriting. So yeah, there you go.
And it's interesting because I want to touch on the food stuff in some ways because obviously food, anyone who knows me, they know that I'm quite fussy about my food. I don't really eat as well as I could eat. You know, I'm putting it out there now. This is laid bare. This is what the human conversation is all about. So I don't eat the most nutritious food that I could. And you are actually vegan, aren't you, Lorraine?
I follow a whole food plant-based diet, so I'm not completely vegan in as much as I have bought leather shoes and things like that, you know, in the last year or so. But no, my diet is completely whole food plant-based because there's quite a difference between plant-based and vegan in terms of diet, because you can be an incredibly unhealthy vegan. You know, you're following the vegan principles, which is brilliant, you know, for the planet and the animals and everything. But you could be eating, you know, beans on toast and Oreos and processed junk food and, you know, man-made burgers, you know, made out of all these new things. So yeah, you can be a very unhealthy vegan. So I'm a healthy plant-based vegan, if you want to call it that.
And when I came to Jersey, obviously you fed me beautiful food and very different for me to eat that way, but it was really delicious. It was full of flavor. You know, it was really quite an eye-opener, I think, as to how lovely that diet can be. Because I think generally people who don't follow that diet probably think there's not a lot of things they can have. There's not a lot of taste to it. And actually that's a big myth, isn't it, Lorraine?
Absolutely, yeah. And to be fair, even if you don't want to stop eating meat, you can still massively improve your diet. And that's how that was always my passion and my message in nutrition was to eat more plants. In fact, I've still got a Facebook page called Eat More Plants and an ebook called Eat More Plants, because I think that everybody, if they started eating more fruit and vegetables and swapping processed things like bread and pasta for more natural things like whole grain rice and lentils and beans and making nice flavorful things with those, you're having far more nutrition than something that's been processed. Yeah.
Definitely. So I know for a fact one of the other things about you is you have homeschooled your girls. You've got 2 daughters.
I did. Well, I've only homeschooled one of them for 3 years. Yes, there's no way I would ever have homeschooled my eldest. She wouldn't have wanted to, and school has been perfect for her. I loved school. I loved everything academic. I loved learning. I still love learning. And she's exactly the same. Whereas my youngest is different. She's a beautiful spirit, and the school model maybe just, I felt that it didn't quite enrich her soul in the way that it could have done. And you know, when they're little and they start coming home from school really upset and stuff, beyond the normal, you know, ups and downs of young children, and so yeah, at some point I was like, hey, look, I've looked into this homeschooling thing, do you fancy it? And she agreed. And so it was for the last 3 years of secondary school. So in the UK, that's years 9, 10 and 11. So yeah, she's just done her GCSEs, so fingers crossed. You know, we're not looking for the equivalent of A stars or anything, because that's not her level, but she's got lovely mental health. She's a lovely, mature person, and it's been a really good adventure for both of us. But we've spent a lot of time at home, so we're both looking forward to getting out and about a bit more now, I think.
Yeah, I bet. But I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's an awful lot to this in my mind, because I just send my son Sam to school. He goes off to school. He comes home from school. He's usually complaining about teachers in one way or another, as they do. But for me to have actually undertaken something like that, I think would have been really massive. So I'm kind of quite inspired by you that you took it on, but also that you have clearly made it a really great journey and adventure for you both. You used the word adventure. That's so lovely, I think, that you said that.
I mean, it didn't turn into the adventure I'd planned. I think my dream, my vision was to be able to travel a lot more, because obviously we weren't tied by school holidays so much. My eldest was still in school, so we were a little bit, but yeah, as it turned out, financially I wasn't in a position to just go off and jet around the world all the time. So yeah, that didn't quite meet my expectations, but they were my expectations, and I hadn't told them to her, so she was happy with everything. But yeah, I think I was at that point in my life where, because I was working primarily from home, I was in a position, I was paying a lot of money to rent this lovely house, and I was like, you know, what's the point of going out all day and her going out to school all day? Why don't we just stay here, do everything here? And yeah, it worked out so well.
I also want to talk to you, because I've known you for a couple of years, I guess, really now. It must be that long when I think back. So yeah. I kind of want to talk about the change in your journey across that time. So obviously there's this history in exercise, nutrition. There's that lovely period of your life where you enhanced many other people's lives in that way. Then there's the copywriting side, which you do really well, beautifully again, because it's heart-centered. You know, it really is lovely how you write, because I've read a lot of your stuff. I've had some stuff written with you as well. So, but I think then you've moved on to another phase, or you certainly did recently move into another phase of your life where you were concerned about things like environmental and planet issues. Shall we talk a little bit about that, Lorraine?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all on a journey, and I think it's beautiful how our businesses and our lives evolve, you know, our relationships evolve and everything. And I think animals and the environment was always something that I was interested in. You know, I can remember buying everything from the Body Shop when I was teenager, maybe. I can't remember what year they opened, but yeah, a long time ago. And I was like, you know, you got to buy this stuff because it's cruelty free. And, you know, I was very passionate about that. I never made a big noise about anything, I suppose. I was always somebody quite quiet, but I always did those things for me, which I suppose now is what I would term alignment. You know, I'm in alignment with what I feel on the inside. So yeah, those passions have always been there. Now it's just that everyone's talking about it. So So it's lovely to be able to have a little bit of a platform, not that I'm that well known, but like just a little bit of a platform on social media to just write blogs and things about those things. And obviously through food, in my opinion, that's one of the easiest things to change in terms of plastic usage and things. Go back to buying natural, take your own bags, go to the market, go to farm shops. There's so many ways you can massively reduce your plastic intake, and now the supermarkets are following suit too, which is amazing.
It is good news, isn't it? And obviously some of them are a bit slower than others, but we are definitely seeing changes, aren't we? And I think it's just about the people who are listening out there, who are kind of, I admit, actually, I'm one of these, I'm busy, I've got a busy life. Sometimes I think I can't make a difference, Lorraine, if I'm really honest. But of course, that's not the case, is it? It's about making those small things change, that will make a big difference ultimately if we all just change something little. Do you not think?
Absolutely. And there's that phrase that's gone round, you've probably seen it on memes and things. It's only one straw, said 1 billion people.
Yes.
So it's, that one takeaway drink in that one cafe, if you just say no to the plastic straw. And actually, a lot of those shops are actually getting better at having biodegradable plastics now, which, okay, they still take a long time to break down, but they're much more, they're not going to be in the planet in 300 years' time. So
much more friendly.
Definitely, the thing is, we all can make a difference. And I think if you think back to the 80s, when, I don't know, you always used to see people like chucking cans out of car windows and things, and I think a lot of that mentality has changed. I'd like to think it has. I mean, I certainly don't see that kind of thing. You might see the occasional cigarette end going out of a car window, but I think in general we're all much more aware of the environment now than we were. And people like David Attenborough, he's a legend, isn't he?
He's wonderful. He's truly wonderful. I mean, I think, was it Glastonbury where he was, Lorraine, this year? And he was on stage at Glastonbury, and it was like, oh my goodness, this is so wonderful.
Stole the show, apparently.
I watched a clip, and he really is, for his age, to be just so prominent still and so passionate about what he does. He's true inspiration, isn't he?
Yeah,
so I love what he does. So let's link it back to kind of your stuff now. So your business as it stands today, your copywriting, who are the people you're working with? What sort of things are you doing, Lorraine? Tell us more about that.
So in terms of the actual things I do, it's things like website pages, ebooks and PDFs, social media, email sequences, that kind of thing. Anything that involves some writing, really. I've done author bios and speaker pages. Someone even asked me to write a wedding speech for them. That was a random one-off, but I did it and she loved it. So that was
great.
amazing. But primarily kind of website and things. But I think what's really lovely is when I first made the switch to copywriting and set up the Soulful Word of my business, I'd gone through a period of really tuning into my feminine energy. I'd got my angel cards and crystals, and I was spending more time sitting out under the stars and journaling. I'd read the gratitude diaries. I was writing gratitude lists. There was all this beautiful energy that had come up, and that's been amazing. And I think because I was putting out so much of that energy, I was attracting those kinds of people. So my first sort of 10 or so clients were all very much, along the same path, very like-minded people. And then as I've evolved, the kinds of clients I've had have evolved too. And what's been really interesting, I made a bit of a decision at the end of last year to really focus, not in my business as such, but in my personal life, on finances and trying to build a bit of financial freedom and security and getting out of that sort of, only just having enough each month. And so I went so far into that, I could really feel that I was in a lot of masculine energy. So it was really interesting to see how it shifted from feminine to masculine. And then what's happened over the last few months is I've realized that I can have a good balance. And it's not like it's something new. I've known this before, but it reappears in a different way to trigger things, to make you learn and grow and expand your mind and everything. So what's really beautiful now is I'm back using that feminine energy, but also with that lovely grounded energy as well. And so I think what I'm hoping is over the next few months, the clients that I will attract will also have that nice kind of balance as well.
I really love the idea of us having a balance between these energies, because I think they're both really beautiful energies, actually. And I think sometimes what's happened for some people is they've almost fought against the masculine energy because they didn't want to be part of it. And actually, you know, it's not caring enough, it's not emotional enough. But as you say, quite rightly, it's grounding. And I think actually that's one of the most important parts of it. So it doesn't mean you can't be feminine and be in touch with your heart and have that lovely emotion around what you do. But that lovely grounding part of it means that it also pulls in the realism of things, the practicalities of things. And when you can get that balance right, I reckon that's when you've got a really amazing energy. That's how I feel about it, because I think I have masculine energy in my life, probably more masculine energy than female energy, actually, which is quite interesting. But I'm still very heart-centered in the work I do, as you know. So
yeah, well, that was the beautiful thing about you, and why you and I connect so well, is because you do have that lovely harmony between the two. Because selling is seen as very masculine, you know, attracting money, which again is like a providing and a masculine sort of energy. But then you've got your human conversation, and that's what you talk about. Selling is, you know, it's the art of human conversation.
yeah.
So I think you do bring that together. You know, you don't have to sort of be wearing pink floaty dresses and have crystals to be feminine.
Yeah.
And equally, you can still have a good balance of masculine energy, but be a beautiful, voluptuous goddess in tune with your feminine side. You know, there's so many different aspects of how masculine and feminine energy can look. So yeah, no, I do think you have a beautiful balance.
Oh, thank you. And I think it's really nice, isn't it, to hear that, you know, your journey has brought this wonderful balance into your energy. That's amazing, isn't it? So I want to kind of talk about what's the future for you, in a sense. So kind of, first of all, I think, you know, who is that ideal client now then? If you've got this lovely balance and you want to attract perhaps those slightly different clients, what do they look like, Lorraine?
Yeah, well, I don't know whether they're slightly different. I think I was listening to someone the other day who was saying we attract people from different stages of our past. And I think we can get very caught up in only focusing on one area of our past, like the me of 6 months ago, or the me of 2 years ago, or whatever. But actually, you can have multiple products, services, income streams, whatever, for different people at different stages. You know, there might be people that like for you with sales, that are just starting in the online space and they have no idea about anything, and they just want a really simple checklist or something, or a simple video training you've done, and that would be really suitable for them. And there's other people that are years down the line that want something completely different from you.
Yeah.
So I think you don't necessarily market everything at the same time, because that gets a bit confusing, but I think we can have lots of different ideal clients at different stages. And I think for me, I've worked a lot with people who are not necessarily in the early stages of business, but in the early stages of online business, because there's such a difference. And I think, you know, I've met so many lovely people, like nutritionists and therapists, healers, whatever, hypnotherapists, and people who have had a brilliant business and career in the real world. And when they come online, they're not quite sure how to position themselves and what to do. And, you know, and so I think a little bit of my time does end up going into almost like a little bit of business coaching. It's not something I'm, you know, saying I do, but it's because I've got a certain amount of experience. When someone is 2 or 3 years behind where I am, or even 6 months behind, that sort of element of teaching and nurturing comes through as well.
Definitely. Do you work with men and women, or particularly women? How does it work out for you?
I work primarily with women, but I don't say I only work with women. I've had a few male clients along the way. I collaborated with a male client or two here and there, and open to working with either. I think it's just that because I was putting out such a feminine energy, maybe I just attracted more of those people. Or maybe the men are looking more at the kind of copywriters and salespeople who do it very much in the, what I would term the old style of marketing.
Yeah, sure.
So very kind of bang, 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 you know.
That's what we're trying to change. That's what we're trying to change that, Lorraine.
Exactly. So, but yeah, no, completely open to working with both. And it's beautiful when I come across a male in the online space who has that beautiful harmony of both energies. And I only know a couple of them, but it is lovely to see what they're doing and how they're showing up and how they're opening up and showing a bit of their vulnerable side.
I've got a question around that, I guess, because I wonder if there are many more out there, but they're just not really giving them permission to be that way.
Yeah, quite probably.
Because it's kind of not what men do, is it? Well, you know, I think maybe now men are realizing that they absolutely can be that way and they can be whatever they want to be. I would love to see more of that, really. I think that would be amazing. With empowered men.
I think that's what we need, because we've had this really interesting couple of decades, haven't we, that kind of came to a head recently with the whole Me Too movement and everything. And you know, there was this whole culture in the sort of 50s, 60s, 70s that was very male dominated. And we're, you know, if you want to be kind of spiritual about it, you could say we're entering this Aquarian age of, you know, this new feminine energy that's rising. But it's really nice, I think, that we've come to a point where actually we need more men to be in their masculine energy in the correct way that it should be. It's like using that masculine energy for what it's meant to be used for. And I think the more we can be in our feminine energy and allow the men to be like that, and you don't have to be an online business person to do that. You could just, you know, allow your husband to show more of his masculine energy in the right way, because it's all, society's gone a bit crazy over the last decade or so, and social media and online, you know, adult sites and things have made it so easy to be very male, with that masculine energy dominated.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's back to what we've just talked about, is balance, really, isn't it? Isn't that what life's all about? When we've got this perfect situation, it's nicely balanced and there's great harmony, and let's just maybe strive for that to be the case.
Exactly. So, salad and chocolate brownie.
Yes, please.
That was always the joke, wasn't it? A salad, a Diet Coke and a chocolate fudge cake.
Yeah, I definitely want the brownies, Lorraine. I don't care, actually. You could make them healthy brownies for me if you want to. I will have them. What's the thing you're most excited about that's coming up for you, or the thing that you want to do most now going forward?
Yeah, I think the thing that's really come through for me is to embrace my natural gift for nurturing and nourishing other people. And so, because I think when I switched to copywriting, I pushed my food business away and didn't really post anything for months. And I think what I've realized over the last year or so is actually, you know, that is part of me. When I have my daughter's friends all round and I make them food, it's beautiful, and I love that. And I love that they try, you know, in fact, a lot of them are vegan and vegetarian, and it's lovely that to have that environment and to share that. And I was even joking with someone the other day about how when my kids were little and we did the first sleepovers and things and all the play dates, I said, oh, I used to whip up a batch of fairy cakes when they came home from school, and you know. And I wasn't saying it to brag that I could just do it just like that. It was more a case of, it felt so lovely to be nurturing them and to just make those fresh warm cakes straight out of the oven. And so there's a lot more of my nurturing energy is coming through. Love is always a key theme as well. So going forward, it's more of the same. It's more copywriting, more writing my own book, or books, because I'll never just stick to one. And then just seeing where it takes me, really.
Seeing
opportunities come up.
I think since I've known you, I've felt that lovely nurturing nature of yours. That's always been there. That's never changed. So it's definitely your core nature, isn't it? I think
it is.
So,
Yeah. Even at school, I was the one that people would come to with various issues and things. So yeah, I think I've always had that, but you don't necessarily realize what you've got. I think I got very caught up in getting qualifications and academic certificates instead of embracing me. And so linking that back to my daughter that I homeschooled, it's lovely to help her embrace more of her natural gifts rather than just going, you have to do this and you have to do that and you have to get these qualifications and things.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely the conversations I'm having with Sam, because I know he just absolutely adores music. He's got this wonderful creativity in him. He's got a wonderful emotional intelligence about him. And, he's coming up to 15 years old, nearly a 15-year-old boy. He's different, very much so, to some other boys in that way. And I'm just really working hard for him to be able to just accept that and not have to be pressured to do this, that and the other and be the way everyone thinks he should be. And I think that's a really great thing to give your children, to help them to realise who they uniquely are.
Definitely. Yeah. I think there's a lot of old souls. I know I feel like an old soul, and I know my youngest daughter especially is as well.
My Sam is, definitely.
And Sam is too. Yeah, exactly. They're both musical, creative, everything. And we're here as the guardians of these beautiful children to guide them into adulthood.
Yeah, that's it. What a great role for us to have. How honoured are we? It's lovely, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. So he's kind of got his summer holidays off, obviously. Now we're just breaking. Anyone who's listening, we're recording this at the last day of term. Certainly in the UK. So he's got his 6 weeks off holiday, and then in September he starts his GCSE stuff. And I don't want that to feel terrible, pressured and stressful for him. So I'm just fingers crossed we can get him through it and he can enjoy as much of it as he can,
Absolutely. And there's so many resources now. When my daughter was doing her revision, YouTube is a massive resource, and actually there's a girl one of my daughter found, and I started watching her channel. I'm just like, oh my god, if I was 18, 19 today, I would be that girl doing that YouTube channel. She's such an old soul. She's so wise, and it was beautiful. I commented on a couple of her videos actually, because it was just so lovely to see her sharing all this beautiful energy and the academic stuff too. She's a top A-star student, but she's just such a lovely person and so wise, and it's really interesting to watch her journey. So makes me very proud of young people, and I love children.
And me too. And I think YouTube is such an amazing resource now. If used properly, you can pretty much find whatever you need on YouTube these days, which is quite amazing, isn't it? So I often wonder how I survived as a child, Lorraine.
How did we survive without Google?
Without the internet, it's incredible, really, that we've become who we have, isn't it?
I think maybe we tuned into our intuition a bit more.
Yes, maybe, which kind of brings us back to where we started, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So I feel like we've had this really lovely conversation around energy, which is kind of where I thought it would go. But I think, for anybody who's listening, I really think that we have to trust who we are. We have to trust that we are unique, we have the energy that we have, and that we can all use that in beautiful ways. I do honestly feel that way. So, and talking to you brings the best out of my energy, for sure.
Oh, thank you. But yes, it's true. One thing I really remember learning in science at school is that energy just keeps on moving. You can't kind of stop energy as such. It keeps going in some other form. And so all we're doing is we're just sharing this energy and passing it around, and you pass it on to the next person, but someone else passes energy on to you. And it's a beautiful, never-ending cycle.
It's lovely, isn't it? It's lovely.
Beautiful. And same with money.
Well, I mean, actually, when I think one of the big things you've taught me when I've known, through the time I've known you, is about the fact that money is energy, and so getting all wrapped up in it is really quite detrimental. You know, the fact is, if you pass that energy on, then ultimately at some point you may well get that energy back, and that's money, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you know, how many times generally do you think, oh, shall I, shan't I? And then you invest in something. It might not even be a big amount of money, but you invest in something, and then literally within minutes or hours or possibly a few days, something else then comes to you, whether that's a new client or, you know, an unexpected check in the post, or whatever it might be, or you sell something you've had for sale for ages. So yeah, that money, it always comes back because it's just energy.
Yeah, I totally love that. That's really helped me knowing that, and you taught me that a long time ago.
Oh, thank you.
So I kind of want to leave the audience with certainly the way that they can get in touch with your beautiful energy, and we will put all of the links in the bio with this podcast. But how's the best way for us to find Lorraine?
So the best way, if you want to read about my intuitive copywriting, head over to my website, thesoulfulword.com. Also on Instagram at The Soulful Word, and Facebook page as well. And if you're interested in the plant-based food, I take photos of my food, even though it's not so trendy anymore. You can find me on Instagram at Bowls of Soul. And then if you put my name into Instagram, you'll find all my old accounts as well. You can go back to 2013, I think, and just get plant-based food for the last 6 years.
Amazing. And some of your food stuff is just wonderful. If you're like me and you're a real if you're rubbish with food, let's just say, then Lorraine's your woman. She'll just make food beautiful for you again. So you're very talented at that, Lorraine. So
it's easy home cooking. I think I've got that gift of being able to open the cupboards when there's literally 3 items there and put together a family meal out of it. And yeah, my kids go, what's for dinner? And I'm just like, just something nice, because I don't plan it. It's not like I say, right, you know, veggie lasagna one day and, you know, tofu stir fry another day. It's just like, oh, what have we got? Okay, well, you know, this lovely fresh spinach and kale has to be used. So, you know, let's see what we can do.
You're very clever. You're a very clever lady. And thank you so much for coming on my podcast again.
Thank you so much for having me. And
thank you.
Look forward to chatting again in a few months' time.
Yes, definitely. And for anyone who's been listening, I hope you've enjoyed our chat. I hope you've had a cup of tea while you were listening. You've relaxed and you've tuned into your own energy. We are on iTunes, which is, I think, now Apple Podcast. We're on Spotify, and we're also on SoundCloud. So give us a follow, give us a like, and please put your comments in. We'd love to hear what you think. But for now, we'll see you next time on The Human Conversation. Ta-da for now.
You've just been listening to the Human Conversation podcast with Jules White. To find out more about the other work that Jules does, please visit her website, www.liveitloveitsellit.co.uk. And if you enjoyed the podcast, then please do leave a rating and review on the platform you use to enjoy her show. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.